As of September 2024, the trial for Justin Johnson, one of the individuals charged with the murder of rapper Young Dolph, is ongoing. Multiple individuals, including Justin Johnson and Cornelius Smith Jr., were arrested and charged with first-degree murder in connection with Young Dolph's death. The trial for Justin Johnson commenced in September 2024. We're on day 3. Witnesses include Cornelius Smith Jr. have testified about their involvement in the crime and the circumstances surrounding Young Dolph's murder. The prosecution has evidence as surveillance footage, witness accounts, and physical evidence to support their case. Now, Johnson's defense team is likely working to raise doubts about the prosecution's case or potentially present an alternative narrative. The trial is still in progress, and additional developments, including witness testimony, closing arguments, and the jury's verdict, are expected in the coming weeks. So before we give you any updates, we want to show you the live footage of what's going on here today. Stay tuned. We are currently waiting for the next witness to enter into the courtroom. Should be coming in any moment now. Let us know your thoughts on this case and everything that you've heard so far in day 1 and day 2. What do you think about the testimony from the defendants and the shocking revelations that have been made thus far on the stand? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Testimony is set to begin now.
Good afternoon, Agent Garner.
Good afternoon, sir.
My name's Luke Evans. I'm just going to have a few questions for you this afternoon.
Yes, sir.
If there's any point in time you don't understand my question or you can't hear me, something like that, just let me know. I'll be happy to repeat the question.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, kind of first thing I wanted to talk to you about is, I think right off the bat, you were telling us that, you know, the idea of looking at call detail records and matching them with cell phone towers to try to figure out any sort of general area where a cell phone might have been is not a perfect science at all.
That's correct.
Right.
It is not.
Lot of different factors that can affect the reliability of the information.
Yes, sir.
And I think you've hit on some of those, but and you've said this. You're in no way, shape, or form here today to try to say where a cell phone was at a particular point in time.
Not at all, sir. That's right.
Right? Now, you said essentially you can talk about kind of a general area, right? Or
Yes, sir.
based on the towers. Now, first thing, kind of helpful to talk about what area means, right? A general area. I know you've said at certain points in your testimony that, especially your summary, that the cell phones, you know, at times were in places where they were in the area of, you know, concourse across town,
Yes, sir.
and towers that service that area.
Yes, sir.
Right. But fair to say, there's a lot of towers, and I think you spoke about this at the beginning of your testimony, related to T-Mobile.
Yes, sir.
What, 500 and something towers, was it, in the greater Memphis area?
563 within 10 miles of Memphis.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And so, quite a few towers, and the reason that there are so many towers is because cell phone companies want to keep their customers happy, right?
Yes, sir.
And so, the idea of these call detail records and their inclusion of cell phone data location information, right? Like the latitude, longitude. Cell phone companies don't do that because they're trying to figure out where they're, you know, where people are to a certainty, correct?
Oh, not at all.
They're doing it because they want to figure out how, you know, customer satisfaction, right?
Yes, sir.
They want to be able to tell if when calls are being dropped, make sure they have another tower that can pick up a call so people aren't getting calls dropped.
Best service possible. Yes, sir.
Right, so that's their point,
Yes, sir.
not to find folks.
Not at all.
Okay. Now, typical tower, would you agree with me that a tower coverage area could cover as much ground as 2 miles?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yes, sir.
Right? And even in a populated area like Memphis, it could go out that far, depending on circumstances of other towers in the area, correct?
Yes, sir.
So, when you talk about areas, and the area of airways, Nikita Cookie, that could potentially go out miles in either direction, a couple of miles in either direction, correct?
Down south towards the airport. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay. And you talk about down south towards the airport. I was going to get to that here in a minute. But in fact, you talked about some calls that occurred about 12:23. And there were several calls and or data usage points at 12:23. And you walked us through, I think it was starting on page 44 of your report. Can I use the Elmo? Is it on? And you remember what I'm talking about now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain again how many either data usage or calls go on at 12:23? Is it 2 or 3?
There's at 12:22. There's a data section. One data section. Sir.
Okay. All right. And then after that?
At 12:23, there is an incoming call that's unanswered and is sent to voicemail. Well, it's routed to voicemail, not sent.
Okay. And is that the call that goes over 2 towers?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And hits 2 separate towers. And isn't there another data usage in that minute, that 12:23 minute? And I'll refer you to your report, page 45 of your report. It says the data that was mapped. And specifically, it references the second entry, data entry there down, references tower 65681, 122308, and the tower being at 2160 East Rains Road.
Yes, sir.
Now, you didn't map that particular data entry, right?
No, sir.
And you're pretty familiar with the Memphis area, right?
Yes, sir.
And where Rains Road would be. You would agree with me that that would be down towards the Memphis airport.
It's right there at Rains and Airways. I know where the tower is. Yes, sir.
So I'm going to hand you a document, and this is, I want you to give that a look. Does that look like the mapping of Cellhawk?
Does that have a page number?
This is, I'm about to ask him if he can recognize it. It's going to be an exhibit.
It could be, yes, sir. I recognize the icons used for the pins that are dropped on it. Yes, sir, from South Hall.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And so, Judge, I'd ask that this be marked the next numbered exhibit.
There's no objection, Your Honor. He's showing it to us.
Thank you. Okay, so this is a particular page out of that page? No, it's not. It's
No,
not in there.
not
Okay,
in there.
Good. Okay, I see, good. This is a map of different locations in Memphis. And I'm just gonna, it's got the Memphis airport kind of in the middle of the page. FedEx World Hub next to it. 240 is the gray intersection going through the middle of the page. And it's got 4 pink areas that the witness has been speaking of as areas of, from cell towers, I think is what you marked.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll mark this as exhibit 65 to the committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. Do you still have a copy of that in front of you?
I do not.
I'm going to hand you back what's been marked as Exhibit 65. I've got a copy myself. And I'd like you to look at that as basically in reference to the 1223 calls. And I think you would probably agree with me that these calls up here are ones that you've already displayed in your report,
Yes, sir.
correct?
That's correct.
And and one over here,
Yes,
is
sir.
that one that you recall the same point in time displaying in your report?
I don't know. I would have to look at the tower number and look back at my report.
Okay. And you can feel free to refer to, if you want to look back at your report to see if that matches. And if you recall, I think you testified at 12:17, there was a voice call to Tower 164286 to the tower north of Makita Cookie and the scene of the homicide.
Yes, sir.
You said there's a data usage at 12:22 tower 29098 to north of McKeever, which would be this one here, correct?
Yes, sir.
29098.
That's correct.
And then you've got a 122305 voice call to north of McKeever at 162486 that you noted.
Yes, sir.
Right. And then you've got another hit on the same tower at 122306, 29098, which is the one north of McKeever.
Yes, sir.
Right? Now, you've also got this one, and I don't think this one got mapped, for 122306. It's a voice call to tower 21198, which is in this area of I-240, west of McKeever.
I do not have that one mapped, no, sir.
Okay. And so, and you don't have any dispute that these are basing on the same call detail records that you would have had in relation to this phone number, purporting to be Mr. Johnson's phone, correct?
If you're just tuning in, watching the Young Dolph murder trial. Trial continues for the man charged in the murder of Memphis rapper Young Dolph on today, Wednesday, September 25th. Justin Johnson is both charged with first-degree murder, among other felonies, in the death of Young Dolph, according to ABC 24 in Memphis, Tennessee. Shelby County DA Steve Mulroy said Johnson is the only one currently on trial and expects the trial to be done by September 26th. And based off of what we heard, the claims and the confessions, I wouldn't doubt it. Johnson is somehow pleading not guilty. Cornelius Smith, also charged with first-degree murder, testified against Johnson and admitted to killing Dolph on the first day of the trial. So yeah, I'm sure this is going to be wrapped up pretty soon, but getting back to it, let's tune in.
Down here at 1223 from the airport, would you dispute that if the Cellhawk software showed it from its mapping capability, that this cell tower is about 3.2 miles from McKeever, from there to here?
Yes, sir. I would agree.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So, number one, was there any particular reason why you didn't map out either of these 1223, either data usages or calls that occurred, the one out here at I-240 or the one down here at the airport?
No, sir. I did not map those out, sir.
And again, you can see we're not talking about an exact science here, but within a minute, this cell phone, one that is associated with Mr. Johnson, is hitting off, what, 2, 3, 4 towers
Yes, sir.
that are miles away from one another.
Yes, sir.
Right. And within this period of time, you would agree with me, and again, these mileages are as the crow flies, as they say.
Correct. Yes,
right?
sir.
Or as the
Line of
tower
sight.
see it.
Yes, sir.
No one's, in less than 30 seconds, no one's getting from up here around Dietrich Avenue down to the airport,
Correct. Yes, sir.
right? They're not driving that far going there.
No,
Right?
sir.
Okay. Now, you mentioned an address in your report, and I'm not going to say the first numbers. It's on that exhibit in front of you. It's up here, right under Orange Mountain, and it's Pfizer Road. You remember that address as being the one associated with?
That was in the subscriber records.
That's right. And I don't have your page number in front of me, but you would agree that that's the subscriber information associated with the phone for Mr. Johnson.
2667 Pfizer Road.
Yeah. You don't have to
I'm
say the number. I'm just saying
Yes, sir, that's correct.
so that was the phone associated with Mr. Johnson.
Yes, sir.
Right. And as far as the subscriber information, and it's right up here not very far from what we've got marked down here is Bradley Avenue, or the address of Hernandez Gomez.
Yes, sir.
Right there in that same area.
Yes, sir.
So, you talked about cell phones hitting the nearest available tower,
Yes, sir.
right? A lot of things can affect availability, right?
Yes, sir.
Congestion, like too many people, right?
Yes, sir.
On a particular cell tower, and you said it could even shift mid-call for people if there's too many people on it, right?
Yes, sir.
Like you can be on a call, and if it gets overly congested, it may direct you to a different tower.
If the device is stationary, I don't see that it would hand off.
Okay.
If the device is moving, I could see that it would hand off.
So what happens if you're on? Because I understood your testimony earlier to be, look, if you're on a tower and it gets too many people on it, it may transition you to a different tower.
You're already on that tower, so it wouldn't let you go. It would not let new traffic on.
Okay. All right. If you're in some of these areas, and like we could see, they can go out maybe as much as 3 miles, right?
Yes, sir.
So even when you're saying someone's using and servicing a tower in the area of Makita Cookie at a particular time, that could give or take 3 miles in different directions, obviously.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
And the same goes for any of the locations, whether it's Valero gas station
Yes.
or Crosstown Concourse.
Yes, sir.
You talked a little bit about coverage area, and there was one question that Mr. Hagerman asked you about, and about whether this tower would cover this area, and you said, I can't answer that. I didn't do a drive test.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is a drive test?
Drive test is where the Memphis Police Department doesn't have the equipment, so we have to borrow the equipment from the FBI is what we use. That equipment has antennas that measure the frequencies in the broadcast of the antennas of the towers within a geographical area that is predetermined. And then it takes those signals and those measurements and plots out a map to see during that drive time how that antenna broadcasts and can receive. And I put in a drive test result from an earlier case from years ago that showed the distance of, and I guess kind of lines of how the tower was broadcasting and receiving.
Okay. And did you do a drive test as to the areas of the tower surrounding Makita Cookie?
No, sir.
Or Valero gas station?
No.
Or Crosstown Concourse?
No, sir.
No. So when it comes to kind of the opinions you've given about whether or not a person was in the area, or excuse me, a cell phone was in the area of a particular tower that was serviced by a particular tower, you can't really know where in the area that person would have been.
That's correct.
And they could have been in a different area, right?
Yes, sir.
And because of congestion on the towers or other reasons, service that tower instead.
That was just the device accessed that tower. That's all I can say, sir.
And another thing that affects what tower availability is sometimes towers go down,
Yes, sir.
right? And just to be clear, you wouldn't have that information when you get your cell tower database. Like you wouldn't know that from the provider that one went down for maintenance,
No, sir. Would not.
or if it was damaged in some, for a period of time during that, which caused it not to be working properly.
Correct. We would not know that. No, sir.
Okay. And obviously that would, again, affect what you talked about with coverage area.
Yes, sir.
What about me, Ron?
Yes, sir.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Can you redirect?
Super quick. You testified with regard to the call detail records and the location, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Were physical extractions done from some of these cell phones?
They were.
And is it Jesse Browning that would have analyzed those physical extractions?
Yes, sir.
No further questions.
Mr. Evans?
Nothing further.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
State call your next witness.
Mr. Evans is getting my attention real quick.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to read a stipulation of the evidence, and I can pass it forward to honor signature first. And enter into evidence.
Why don't you read it first and we'll mark it?
Yes. Very good. Now, this is stipulation of fact. The state of Tennessee versus Justin Johnson is on trial. Trial indictments 2204679. Stipulation of fact. The parties in this matter, the state of Tennessee, represented by Paul Hagerman and Iris Williams, and the defendant Justin Johnson, represented by Luke Evans, have agreed to the following. For the purposes of count 3 of indictment 2204679, that's the trial indictment, the defendant Justin Johnson is a convicted felon, having been previously convicted on May the 2nd of 2017 in Division 8 of the Criminal Court of Shelby County under docket number W1700355 of a qualified felony for purposes of Tennessee Code annotated 3917. 1307B1A. This is a fact that is agreed to by all the parties. It should be accepted by the jury as true. It is stipulated and approved by the court. I've signed it, Mr. Evans signed it, the defendant Justin Johnson has signed it, and Judge Mitchell has also signed it. We would move this into evidence this time.
Mark this exhibit number 66.
And we're ready for the next witness, except for three things at the request of counsel that we've spoken about just now that we need to do. So if you could indulge us in about a 7-8 minute break, we'll be back.
Y'all heard him say 7 or 8 minutes, right? We're gonna hold up to it. We're convicted.
All right, you is excused.
current pause in the case. Now, Johnson's attorney, Luke Evans, said he anticipates Hernandez Govin, who prosecutors say ordered the hit on Young Dolph, to testify as well. So you can stay up to date on all the remaining updates, either from following our channel, or you can check every news outlet, including the one in Memphis, Tennessee, for more information. But we want to know your thoughts, so please tell us in the comments. We thank you for watching, and we'll check you in the next one.